Hey there, Ron Sullivan, your online hitting consultant, talking about staying back today. I think a different idea that could help your players, and let's make this a quick tip for the day, right? If you watch players like Johnny Peralta, and then you watch them compared to what youth players do, I think how youth players would uh, define the weight shift process is I'm going from here to there. I'm going from here to there, right? They're thinking about going forward, right? And obviously, our body is going forward in this process, right? But one of the things, again, if you're challenged with a player that struggles with staying back, it's possible they're not using or they're not putting the mass of their weight in the right positions as they're dropping into their weight shift, right? That they're just trying to go linearly towards the ball, right? And so Peralta gives us a great example, and I think all players at a high level do this to some degree, right? But some it's a little bit more obvious. You'll see it right here with Peralta, right before he hits the ground. You see how his body is going straight down, right there, right? So this is something you can challenge your players to do. I'm going to draw a box, right, around the mass, the big muscles, right? The thighs, the hips, the butt, the core of his upper half, right? Torso, abdomen, shoulders, all of this stuff, right? You start challenging your player to put those big muscles between their feet when they land in their weight shift, right? Challenge them to put those bigger parts in between their feet when they land, and they're going to be able to stay back. And what you'll start seeing as well, right, when they start getting a nice feeling for this, right, is one of the things that youth players really struggle with is you see this flexion in their knees when they land in their weight shift. This is sometimes we'll call just a really strong athletic position with their body. This is just all about how they control that momentum as they're dropping in. And the reason why players will tend to straighten their legs out more so than these guys do is because they're normally pushing off of their back foot to hit against a really firm front side, right? And so that how they translate that is their legs have to be strong and firm to brace for impact, right? So I'm pushing from this backside to get to that front side, and usually straight legs is how they define a strong positioning, right? And what you can do again is just challenge your players when they're landing into their weight shift that they're trying to put this mass in between their feet. Now, I do strongly recommend that this is really for players, you guys that you're working on the proper release of the backside, right? You don't have a bug squisher. You're pretty confident that they're using their back leg and their hip movement is correct. Then this move will really help them. If you are a bug squisher, if you're just spinning on the ball of your foot in the back, I would be really careful with this idea because this will cause you to just probably spin more. But if you have the proper backside release, then you're going to be able to take advantage of this, and you won't be lunging and leaning forward for pitches that you're fooled on. These guys, when they're early on a ball, big leaguers, when they're early on a ball, we know it because they hit the ball on the end of the bat. You rarely will see a guy go lean forward because he's early, right? Unless it's an 0-2 count and they're just trying to do whatever they can. When these guys are early, it's because they hit it off the end of the bat, right? And so when you develop this move, right, where you start trying to feel the mass of your body stay between your feet when you're landing, you'll be able to do stuff like what Hanley Ramirez does over here on the right. And you see how long he kind of stays in his back heel, right at heel plant. A lot of times you'll see at this point guys will already start popping off the back foot. And you see that over here on the left. The sequence is a little bit different how I've tied these up. You see how Peralta's heel is coming straight up before he lands, right? And you see how what Hanley Ramirez, he recognizes off speed. He's trying to stay grounded a little bit more as he sits into his front side, right? And so if you don't control the momentum of the bigger muscles, the mass of your body, if it's just pushing forward from going from here to there, right? You're not going to be able to stay back. But if you're feeling the mass of your body trying to get between your feet, right, or between your legs, you should say, maybe, then you're going to be able to sit back a little bit easier, right? So challenge your young players to take the mass of their body and put it between their feet when they're doing their weight shift, right? And you're still going to see that nice backside release, right? You're still going to get enough leverage into the front. Obviously these guys are feeling, just like I always challenge my players, is that we're trying to feel our weight in this imaginary area when I'm landing, right? And because what most youth players feel is their weight, instead of being at that point, something like this, in this area, most youth players feel their weight like this, right? Obviously, this is an abstract illustration of that, but that's why most youth players will leak, right? So if you challenge them to put the big muscles into the middle of their body when they land, you're going to see moves like what Johnny Peralta does and players like Cody Bellinger that really kind of sit into their weight shift, right? So good. Hey, Ron Sullivan, your online hitting consultant. Thanks.